We are on high alert in America, but I promise you, listen, I found some details that nobody is talking about. Not even your emergency officials are going to tell you this. So, this information is so important that it's life changing. I'm telling you, we'll have all this coming up. First, you need to see what's happening.
In front of the Capitol, you cannot drive past a certain point. They've got the streets blocked off because of what's happening in Iran, the U.S. strike on Iran. This is in Washington, D.C. right now. There's a blockade. You cannot go certain parts around. That's at the Capitol.
So, you see how people say elites have a place to go, but the normies, the people like us, don't. Well, let me tell you, I put in some huge research and you're going to find out something about that a little bit later on. But this army guy came out recently as well. And I want you to listen to what he says first. And I'm going to show you all the updates on what's happening in specific locations.
Hey, I just wanted to get on here and say that, we just did the strikes on Iran. We just entered the war officially, so there's not a lot I'm allowed to say, but just for y'all's loved ones' sake, I hope y'all have some supplies. Like, I hope y'all got some a place to go, so some supplies, and things are gonna start getting crazy. So y'all stay safe out there. This is not to scare anybody. This is just to let y'all know that things are about to get pretty wicked. So stay safe and watch out for each other. Amen.
This is it, everybody. Get ready. How many of you are actively preparing right now before the prices start to skyrocket? Let me know in the chat section. How are you and your family doing? What's the preparations? Are you getting more serious? Because right now, we're tracking situation, the NYPD says, unfolding in Iran. Out of abundance of caution, we're deploying additional resources to religious, cultural, diplomatic sites across New York City and coordinate with our federal partners. We'll continue to monitor for any potential situation. So that's what's being said here. And then you got the governor also saying, my top priority is the safety of all New Yorkers. I am receiving intelligence briefings and closely monitoring the evolving situation in Iran alongside federal and local partners. New York State Police are working to protect at-risk sites to fight cyber attacks. We said this was the next coming scenario that you need to prepare for. Prepare for cyber attacks is going to be really important for you to get ready for having a dark out situation. And not just that, we can look at other military people training and just giving us more cryptic scenarios where they're saying stuff like this. So they're starting to tell them to get ready. This came right after the nuclear facilities were struck. We've seen other deployments. We could see the troops telling us, hey, look, we're getting deployed. This is not a joke. This is the real deal. The heightened threat is real. Here's another person in the military showing inside of a plane where they're all in is dead silence while they're all in there. Somebody says the silence in there and how we send our children to war. Sad. And here, this is the story. The bankers have wanted this war for a long time. And they also said years ago, the general didn't know why they needed to go to war with Iran. This was so many years ago, early 2000s. The final plan was to go to war with Iran. Why? The general said, I don't know. If you look that video up, that was years ago. Now we have a heightened threat to us. And the crazy thing is, through all these scenarios, you can look around in different countries and you say, well, they have bunkers. I'm going to tell you something about our country that nobody has pretty much told us. This is June 22nd, 2025. The ongoing Iran conflict is causing a heightened threat environment in the United States. Low-level cyber attacks against U.S. networks by pro-Iranian hacktivists, they say, are likely, and cyber actors affiliated with Iranian government conduct attacks against U.S. What about China? What about the rest of them? That's the one thing they are not mentioning. And we just found out a major, huge clue. The protest that was happening. We've now uncovered who's behind that. And it's not Iran. We're going to show you all those details here coming up. And part of the sleeper cell operation, this is going to be important to know. So let's look at this right here. So here's more of the situation. Since the start of conflict, we've seen media releases by foreign terrorist organizations, including Hamas, Lebanese, Houthis, all saying they support the scenario. And the sleeper cell activation basically is going to start. And they're not telling us that it's been Communist Chinese operatives that was actually former police officers inside the U.S. as we speak right now. And I'm going to give you all the information on that. Here's more deployments, though. More deployments from the Army. And they're already showing us more and more every single day that this is going to be an evolving long-term scenario. And that means for us that we need to prepare for long-term scenarios. Dried foods, dried beans, like all types of water. Get your health stuff ready. So because this is not going to be a short situation. This is something, and also right now as we speak, they're going to be going to China to go talk to them. So again, this is the next scenario. Iran's foreign minister headed to Russia to meet with Putin. And so there's going to be talks with Putin and what's next, because they had about 200 diplomats inside those nuclear facilities that were struck with Israel. They had a deal to get them out of there before Trump struck. And again, Russia already had warned and said, if you do that, we're basically going to have to get involved in all different ways. So cyber attacks, all that's on the table. We can look right now through New York, and not just New York. We can look at Los Angeles, and we see what happens to be a lot of these covered up tanks. For some reason, they've covered up some of them with like this black material. As we zoom in a little closer, it's the ports of LA. And we noticed that also some of the supply chain areas from the ports, some of the stores are seeing that. And if you're starting to see some stuff with stores that are like, oh, shoot, what's going on? Is some stuff not on the shelf right now? I told you it was a cyber attack that hit Whole Foods that wasn't too long ago. Some of these tanks are covered up. These probably for domestic operations. We also seen them hauling these tanks up. They would pick them up with the rotary blade military vehicles, and they had them, and they'll drop them down in case something happens in a city, in a major city. They're going to be using that for their next operations. Now, it was another guy who's basically in maritime operations, and it looks like he has one of the uniforms that is a service dress uniform. And he's showing this clip that he says it's time, and this was about like 2 days ago. And he shows the military out at sea. And as you can see, you got a bunch of bombers right there, and they're flying across. And we don't know if this is the West Coast moving to the Pacific, but I'm pretty sure what's going to happen next is that China is going to be looking at Taiwan. The regional moves are going to happen. Speaking of the protests inside of America, ran not by Americans, not by, obviously, we've seen them getting paid. And the sleeper cells actually activated through the protests. We actually had a member of the government in Texas, a representative who sponsored this event through the form. You have to sign this form right here in Texas. This guy name is Jin Wu. Where was he born? He was born in China. How did he get elected in Texas? How did he become one of the members? And then another thing right here, you had a former police member of China that was in the LA protest right here, down here, or you see this photo. This is a former Chinese police officer, and we found out that they were sponsoring these protests. Now, how could United States government not know about that? That's the real picture there. I'm pretty sure they know about that. Here's the other big picture that we're not catching. We see roundup operations, but it's not the roundup operations against the sleeper cells. The roundup operations are against like Mexican nationals and stuff like that. Let's look at this real quick. So this is U.S. Immigration Services. 8 hours ago, we see a convicted felon from Mexico. We see MS-13 raids. Why are you not raiding the sleeper cells, because you're saying, oh, we're here, we're defending America. You're getting MS-13. We know they've been here forever. Why are you not going after the foreign operatives? Sure, these guys need to be arrested. But if there is a large scale attack being planned, that's why I don't feel, in the comment section, how do you feel? I don't feel that at the actual federal level that there's an operation to go after these fools, because they're constantly still roaming around. Secondly, the drones flying around. We now found another connection in New York that they already have drones that's ran by China. If you look right here, Nanjing University of Aeronautics Astronautics, they've been flying drones throughout New York. And you can see right here, they already have surveillance systems put up. So whenever the war breaks out, look at this. SkyTech UAV, 14022 Beach Avenue, Flushing, New York. Look at this. Global support from New York. We have Chinese operatives that are already going to be helping sleeper cells fly these drones. And you can ask the question, was that them flying these drones over the last course of months and weeks when we've seen those drones fly throughout the United States? That's a big, huge question to be asking right now. How do you trust your government at this point? And I'm pretty sure y'all don't, but if you're here right now live, we got the emergency message that the government is not going to tell you about. If our states are bombed, if anything happens, I don't think this is going to happen. It could be cyber attack, but just in case, major zones, strongholds where they feel that their farmland is not at, they're going to want to hit some of those areas. They're going to want to hit military installations. People in the United States think we have nowhere to go. I have literally found a place for us to go. This is a former Air Force veteran who actually, we're going to show that. And here's another guy right here. He says he's a biological chemical warfare defense expert and basically a retired colonel. He said this about the Chinese operatives that we already know in the United States. Far more Chinese illegal aliens can be deported. We gathered names, photos, passports, numbers, locations, and identify some as likely military or intelligence personnel. It's not difficult. Yet, the vast majority of Chinese illegals remain undisturbed by federal authorities. And it was not too long ago when we came out with the report through this defense expert that said there was Chinese illegal immigrants training with AR-15s, and this was in the United States. So again, this is another scenario right now that we got to take into account. The feds are not going after them. The feds are actively involved in making this look like a show to go and get some gang members they knew that was already here, not the ones that's actually moving the operations. This is how you know they want to control inside collapse. We can look right here. This is what recently Iran said. If you translate it, it said, you started this war, but we will be the ones that finish it. This is their first, basically IRGC commander-in-chief in the war room. And it says the major general said this: IRGC aerospace operations will not stop, have taken away the comfort of the Zionists. As time passes, the unity of Iranian people grows stronger, and this is a divine blessing. So they're not going to stop. And actually, Donald Trump didn't get constitutional approval for the strike that he did. So in the international court, they've already went there. And then China and Russia said, hey, this is already a war crime. So we're already building up our case against you. So this is going to continue to basically start to spiral out of the situations. We've seen the B-52 bombers or B-2 bombers. They came back over Missouri. They land from the Air Force Base. These were the ones that did the missions that went and struck the nuclear sites. And here's the thing, when we look in the skies, we're seeing also more fueling operations, which tells us a wartime deployment is starting to happen with these bombers. So what happens with these bombers, they're only here for a little bit and they come back and they fuel up. But if there's a long process of war, you having to come all the way back to fuel up is not going to be the process. They're going to have airtime deployments where they have to refuel airily. And this is basically what they started to do. You can see it landing in, and we're going to give you some huge updated information that is highly important. We've also seen a strange disturbance in the atmosphere. And as these bombers land, I'm thinking that maybe there's this chemical in the atmosphere, or either these military planes are disturbing some of the cycles of our organic life forms that's around here. So I'm going to take you into some of this here in just a second. But while you're here live, you just tuned in. You don't even know the information that I'm about to give you. The entire United States, UK, and Canada need this information, because if we're in a wartime move right now, I'm going to give you a defense plan, and you think this is a joke, and you're like, "What is this guy talking about? What are you don't know that much." I don't know that much. Okay, you're gonna find out here in just a few. So again, before we get to it, though, I want you to see something about the bombers, and this is something I need to read out to you before we get to the full process of you defending yourself, you letting your family know, hey, and then you can confirm what I'm about to tell you in a few. So stick around for that. I'm telling you, nobody else is giving this out. They'll have spent 32 hours each up in the air. By the time they land, being refueled multiple times mid-flight. This was a round trip, was no stops. So, breaking military intel, the sky is not normal. This shows a wartime deployment. You can see all of them moving towards like the Washington area. That's where the capital is. And that's where we just seen major entry points where you can't even enter by DC. Confirm that for me in the chat if you're by DC as well. So here's another thing. I know there's a bunch of doom and stuff and gloom out there, but I'm going to give you some more information that's not about doom and gloom. So one more thing we got to cover before we get to the major situation, how you can protect your family, how you can defend. Once I do this, please share this out massively, because this is not even about me. It's about all of us once they start doing whatever they're doing. So check this out right here, though. There's a huge disturbance in the atmosphere. They announced that we had this new toxin in the atmosphere, and I told y'all about it. They did a biological drop on us. It's been confirmed. Check this out, how the birds are acting, though. All right, so that was in Delaware. Have you seen any crazy activity from the animals acting like this? Because that tells me either these disturbances in the atmosphere is getting even worse, or something major is about to happen, earthquake shift. We're not sure right now, but we're going to get into the deep information, and I got to tell you something before we do. So what I've been telling you about is, they always say America doesn't have any place to go. Americans are just going to, in the war is going to be done with. Now we found information here, and I want you to first understand that it's from this Air Force veteran. I'm Sean Gold, the founder of True Prepper, also an engineer, Air Force veteran, emergency manager, husband, dad, avid prepper. I develop emergency disaster plans around the globe and responded to many attacks and accidents as a hazmat technician. Sharing practical preparedness is my passion. So what he's essentially done here, we have a map. He's put out a map for the first time ever where fallout shelters is in the United States. You understand what I'm saying? I'm about to send you, I'm about to give you all the pros and cons, and I haven't even, you finna confirm, okay, listen, if you're here right now, you can confirm this in your own location. I'm going to tell you how to do that. Just stick around and listen to me. I got to tell you some of the pros and cons. So, pros of you going to these shelters. So no investment is needed. Many people are unfamiliar with them. Typically high levels of radiation shielding. That's the pros. So if radiation happens, you need to know these shelters, and I'm giving you more information. Nearby to much of the U.S. population. Cons: may be completely gone before you plan. Can get overcrowded. No management or authority oversight. So no supplies, so you have to have your own supplies if you choose to do this. Ventilation may not work. That's going to be a problem. No egress plans. So let's give you more information, and I'm going to tell you how to confirm this. So here's the thing. So the post office fallout shelters. This is something that a lot of people don't know about, and we're going to get to it. Right now, I'm going to show the UK version of this as well. But we're going to go to US, UK, all of this. The US Postal Service played a large part during the Cold War era. Civil defense and many post offices built this period were designed for fallout shelters and were stocked accordingly. They were so common that many of them were not designed or designated on county and community maps. Yet they still had the well-known civil defense badges and fallout shelter placards. So I'm gonna show you right now in certain regions, if they were to bomb the United States, God forbid, if they were to bomb it, which I think is going to be a cyber attack. Either way, if radiation fallout happened, and I want to bring you into the radiation map really quick. Actually, the radiation on the border of Texas dropped down to 81. It dropped to 80. My bad. It was 81 yesterday, and now it's dropped by like 1%. If it gets over 100 CPM, that's abnormal. That's very abnormal. Now, taking you into this right now, I know you want to know, okay, well, how do we confirm this? So check this out. I'm going to show you step by step, and then I'm going to give you actually the full details of how to confirm it. This is the fallout shelters right now in New Hampshire. And I'm going to show multiple areas for y'all so y'all can understand this. So here's another thing. So there you go. You can see all the areas by Vermont, Massachusetts. Let's go to another location. We also got some by Montana, Idaho. Let's go to another location for you. Look at Louisiana right here. Look at Tennessee. Look at Missouri. There are more fallout shelters all along here. Why is the government not telling us about this stuff? Look at California. You got a lot of freaking fallout shelters here. Why is this important? Because we're seeing that and I'm giving you the details, and I know a lot of y'all are going to say, well, how do we actually see this thing? I need to tell you one more thing before I give you that. The good thing about this is once you click into this, I'm going to give you this in a second, it takes you to a map on your phone, on your GPS, and you can actually click this. You can take a trip drive there, and you can go and confirm this location. This is what's super important here. So I'm telling you, right now in the chat, like y'all, hold up really quick, y'all. So, all right, right now in the chat, what's going to happen before this stream even ends is you're going to see the link to how you can see these fallout shelters, how you can get to these, and how you can navigate to them. You need to make that be a trip, confirm them, get back with me, and then we can have videos and clips and everything. But first, before you do that, do something. Mass share this, please. Don't let them stop this, because after the stream is over, they're not going to push it out. They're not going to allow it to move forward. They're going to let this stream die, and this could also mean people die. And I'm not being dramatic. I'm just saying if a war is going to happen, the ex-president of Russia came out and said we might see a new Chernobyl because of the strikes on the nuclear sites in Iran. And it took 7 to 10 days for Fukushima to get onto the U.S. West Coast. That was from scientific evidence. You can go do the research yourself. You'll find out that those things flew by jet stream via the air, and it landed on us. So highly important here. Look in the chat right now. Click this link. Go there. Go to the fallout shelter map and then figure out in your location. Please make this video very important. Get it out there. This is important. This is a defense emergency plan for everybody.